All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And for those listening back, thank you as well. Tonight, Danielle is filling in for Jeff. He could not make it tonight. So, welcome, Danielle. Thank you
Hello.
for joining us.
Yes, thanks for having me.
And the reason why you guys probably tuned in, our special guest night. Today is a man who can hear what you're not saying. He doesn't look at body language, he analyzes the language itself. His specialty is statement analysis, a forensic technique that uncovers deception, hidden intent, and the unspoken truth in any testimony. He's the mind behind the popular podcast, Never a Truer Word. Jack Fox, welcome back to Locating Lost.
Hey, Travis, say Danielle, happy Friday from the UK. It's Friday now. Should we crack open a few beers?
It's Thursday.
We probably should.
Here, so maybe.
It's Friday Eve for you guys. So we're all in the same boat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you so much. And I know at my age, I can't make it to midnight, so I'm not sure how you're doing it, Jack, but I appreciate you doing it.
I'll share my secret one day, but it does take some doing.
All right. So tonight we're going to cover the case of Ayla Reynolds. She went missing December 17th, 2011 from Waterville, Maine. So I don't think you really know a lot about this case, Jack, because you're all the way over in the UK. I'm not even sure. Have you heard the name before?
No, it's not a case I've heard of. It takes a real high-profile case to make the news over here. Social media's changed that quite a bit, but 2011 stories weren't traveling like that. But also that's kind of the way I like it, because the less I know about something, the less I know the background, the less I've heard people's theories and so on, then the less bias I'm going to bring into my analysis. It just allows me to look at the words and accept them for what they are.
All right, perfect. So we'll start off tonight by playing a little video here. This is him joining, I believe, the Today Show about 2 weeks after Ayla went missing, his first public statement. So I'll play that, and then how do you want me to do this? You want me to have him say something and then stop it so you can analyze it? Do you want to play it all the way through? How do you want to do this?
Should we do it in maybe 2 or 3 parts so that we can just zone in on the specific things he says?
Maybe raise your hand when you want me to stop, I guess.
Will do.
We should have covered that before we started, I guess. So,
Father Justin DiPietro is with us now exclusively. Justin, good morning to you. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
This is our first chance to speak to you publicly. Can you give us a sense why you're coming forward now?
There's a few reasons why. Initially, the first few days, I was emotionally incapable of coming out to do an interview, and I had been advised that by coming on and doing an interview by law enforcement that it could possibly hinder the investigation, and I'm here to help in any way I can. And by coming on here, it was in hopes of reaching out to the person that does have my daughter, and to let them know that what you're doing isn't right. You may think what you're doing is right for Ayla, but it's not. You have no right. You're not her parent. She belongs home with her family.
Pull that there.
Yep.
The first question, the first time you have a chance to talk, is always very interesting when you're analyzing someone's words, because very often that thing that's the priority in our heads will come spilling out there. And the first question that he's asked is, this is your first chance to speak publicly. Can you give us a sense of why you're coming forward now? His answer is, there's a few reasons why. Initially, the first few days, I was emotionally incapable of coming out to do an interview. I had been advised that by coming on and doing an interview by law enforcement, that it could possibly hinder the investigation. That doesn't answer the question. The question was, can you tell us why you're coming forward now? And he tells us why he hasn't come forward previously to now, which is, well, is it image management? Does he know? I don't know this case, but we have a lot of people been saying this guy's not speaking and it's very sus that he hasn't come forward. So he wants to not answer the question of why are you coming forward now, but explain why he wasn't coming forward earlier. So is he aware of what people were saying? I'm interested in why he says, I was emotionally incapable of coming out to do an interview. I don't really know what that means. It was just, I'm emotionally incapable of coming out and doing an interview. So I was emotionally incapable of coming out, full stop, or end the thought, and doing an interview. So there's a lot going on there for me in his words. It's not just You might think that what he's saying is, I was in an emotional state, I couldn't do interviews. That's not quite what he says in his words. He says, I was emotionally incapable of coming out to do an interview. Also, look at the split between who advised him not to do an interview. He didn't say, I've been advised by law enforcement that doing an interview could possibly hinder the investigation. Actually, law enforcement and being advised are really far apart in the sentence, because what he says is, I had been advised that by coming on and doing an interview by law enforcement, it could possibly hinder the investigation. So I do wonder if he actually had that advice at all from law enforcement, because he doesn't join law enforcement into this advice whatsoever. So that first answer grabbed me immediately, because he's asked, why are you coming forward now? And he doesn't tell us straight away. He tells us why he didn't come forward at the time. Then he goes on, I'm here to help in any way I can. But coming on here, it was in hopes of reaching out to the person that does have my daughter. He goes past tense there. By coming on, it was in hopes of reaching out to the person that does have my daughter. He's actually there right now on the screen, but he's not talking in present tense about why he's there. It's not, by coming on here, I'm hoping that I can reach out and talk to the person that does have my daughter. It's something in the past that he's referencing. It was in the hopes of reaching out to the person that does have my daughter. And he uses that phrase, the person that does have my daughter, 2 times in this interview. It's comparative. Do you know what I mean? It's not, I'm reaching out to the person that has my daughter, which would be very direct and straightforward. It's the person that does have my daughter. Let's take a missing child out of it, but let's think he was talking about his car. If someone had taken his car, or someone had his car that wasn't supposed to have it at that time, that might be, I want to talk to the person that does have my car, as opposed to the person that doesn't have my car. But here, he's saying the person that does have my daughter, as opposed to the person that doesn't have my daughter. It's very strange. He carries on, let them know that what you're doing isn't right. You may think what you're doing is right for Ayla, but it's not. The message there, on TV, being interviewed about his missing daughter, who he says has been taken with someone else. The message isn't bring her back. The message isn't return her. The message is what you're doing isn't right. That's kind of strange, like a father of a missing daughter. The priority, I'm presuming, I've never been in that situation, but we would think that the father of a missing infant child would want that daughter back, not what you're doing isn't right. And there is in there, why are you coming on is the question he was asked. There is a complete absence of the thought of getting Ayla back or finding Ayla, finding where Ayla is. I do give him points though. So if I've been a little bit unreassured by what he said so far, I do give him points for having a message, even though that message is not a great one. It's not just that he's here to prove himself innocent if there's been a lot of suspicion about him or so on. And also he uses her name very often. Parents or close people who are close to a missing person will who are guilty of something will not use the name. They'll create that distance by talking about she, her, him, them.
Do you think that it was something written up for him? Like, is he following a script? Is that what it like? That's what it sounds like to me, that his lawyer or someone gave him a script.
It could be that. What I think, and we see this a lot, so look, I'm here on your channel right now. I've thought about what it is I'm going to say. I've prepared mentally for what it is that I'm going to say. I've done some work ahead of time. So I've got all these things in my head that I prepared that I do want to say. And, if you're going on the Today Show or any media appearance, especially if you're not used to it, you are going to have worked out some of the things that you want to say. And again, if this guy, let's just be neutral at this point. If this guy is guilty, then he'll have a cover story that'll be very important for him to get across. Or if this guy has a lot of suspicion about him and he wants to get himself out from under that suspicion because it's not right, it's not fair, again, he'll have things that he wants to say. So whether he has a prepared script that he's remembered or is in front of him, or whether he's just mentally prepared for what it is that he wants to say, he's working from priorities that he wants to get across, which is very often why when you see someone who is in that mode, they don't answer the questions that they're asked precisely, because what they want to do is turn the question into something where they can get the prepared story out there. And then he finishes it again by saying, you've no right. You're not her parent. She belongs with her family. Now, this got me thinking, does he have someone in mind here? Because he is talking to one person and directly talking to that one person. But even if it was the other parent of Ayla, taking the child is not right. He's very focused on saying this isn't right. Well, that's damn obvious, if you know what I mean. Like doing what he's really high up in his priority list of saying what's going on here isn't right. He really has this sense of what's happened isn't right. Not is wrong, just isn't right. Two slightly different things there in his world.
Does it mean anything to you that he's like so calmly expressing the distress that's caused him and how he wasn't emotionally capable to give an interview, yet doesn't really waver in his facial expressions or body gestures?
It doesn't. So I don't look so much at body language and so on. I think we all do. But what I saw there was I don't know what emotionally incapable of coming out to do an interview means, and he hasn't been able to paint what that means in any words. You could imagine someone coming on and going, this is the first time I felt able to talk. I've been an emotional wreck. I don't think I could have got the words out if I'd spoken 2 weeks ago. My panic, my anxiety has been off the charts, and I would not have been able to make any sense. Now that would be the words that come from someone. If we're talking about something that we've really experienced, we find it really easy to find the words. Our brains do it automatically. They take the experience inside our memory and they turn it into words of what it's been, of what we felt. If someone's trying to con us as to what was going on, then the brain doesn't have that capacity to turn a real experience into words. It has to go through an entirely different process of what is it I want to say, what are the words that match what it is that I want to say, and therefore the picture painting is a lot less, and as listeners we connect a lot less with what is there, because as people are talking, most of us are sort of pulling together pictures in our minds of what is it that they're saying, trying to understand what someone is saying. And when we can't really do that, very often it's because the person is not relaying an authentic experience. It's a constructed one, and the words just won't work as well as if we talk about what it is that we really have experienced.
All right. So I want to.
And Justin, as you just heard in the piece, police are now saying that they believe foul play is involved. What are investigators telling you about what happened, what they believe may have happened here?
As far as I know, that's just been a change in terminology. As far as I know, we're at the same place that we were at on day one with this.
Can you tell us about the last time that you saw your little daughter? I know it was now more than 2 weeks ago. She was wearing, as it was described, pajamas, polka dot pajamas. Her top said, "Daddy's little princess." Tell us about that night.
It was just a normal night. There was nothing. I put her to bed, and just a normal night.
A lot has been said about you, obviously, in the last couple weeks before we had a chance to speak to you directly. What do you think people should know about you and about your relationship to your little girl?
Well, I can tell you what I'm not. I love my daughter. I would never do anything to harm my daughter. She's the world to me.
Let's put it there. I think, Danielle, you were talking about body language and stress and so on. He's very stuttery. So there is definitely some stress going on below him. Thank you.
Not sure what happened to her.
There's definitely some stress going on where he is finding it hard to pick the words and stuttering over certain concepts. Just like in the first part we heard there, police are now saying, it's put to him, police are now saying they believe foul play is involved. What are investigators telling you about what happened, what they believe may have happened here? And Justin starts with, as far as I know from, and then he stops and he doesn't carry on and say from. So look, quite often when someone stops and starts a new thought, it's not fair to fill in the blanks for them to go on with what they were saying. But the question has been, what are investigators telling you about what happened? And I think he's going to say, as far as I know from investigators, and then carry on. But he doesn't say from investigators. So from this one, I got the feeling of either the investigators are not talking to him and he doesn't want to say on national TV, these guys are saying nothing to me, they're keeping me in the dark. That's a bad look. Or potentially what the investigators are saying to him, he doesn't want to share as well, because, you know, that's going to play badly for him as well. So he says, as far as I know from, and then thinks better of actually saying anything about who this is from. And then he says, that's just been a change in terminology. As far as I know, we're at the same place that we were on day one with this. Now, he uses that word just. And just is so often used in deception. And here that's just been a change in terminology. So what he wants to say here, it's just a really small thing. This is just a change in terminology. Nothing big has changed, nothing to see here. It's just a very small thing. I always say the word just doesn't prove someone's lying to you or someone's deceiving you, but it's always worth digging in around when the word just is used to see what it is that they're saying. And here it's this change in terminology that's there. And then he says, as far as I know, we're at the same place, which is another indicator for me that the law enforcement are maybe not cluing him in on everything that's going on with this investigation. They're keeping him in the dark. They're keeping him at arm's length at the moment.
Yeah. All right.
He's then
next part.
Yeah, he's then asked,
ahead.
can you tell me about the last time you saw your little daughter? I know it's now more than 2 weeks ago. She was wearing, as it was described, pajamas, polka dot pajamas, or top said Daddy's Little Princess. And then the question is put to him, tell us about that night. And this is one that does give me worries. He says, it was just, there's that word again, it was just a normal night. There was nothing. I put her to bed and just a normal night. As humans, we don't notice normal. We notice the exceptions. We notice the differences to the routine. That before we came on here, you guys said to me, how are you? And I said, God, I've been really busy. I've been traveling everywhere. But today, oh my God, I had such a quiet day. It was great. I told you about the exceptions to my life. I didn't tell you. Yeah, everything's been normal. Everything's been fine. It's been really normal. That's not how people talk. We talk about the exceptions that were going on. And he doesn't tell us about that night. Yeah, he tells us it was a normal night twice. There was nothing. I put her to bed, just a normal night. He doesn't actually tell us anything about that night.
Well, I kind of felt as a parent that was odd, because even the normal, I'm thinking as a mother, what normal looks like for my own child and what I could recall in terms of, I don't know, maybe what was fed to her, what we watched for TV, and what her space was, mentally and emotionally before she went to bed. Did she want to go, and so that felt weird to me that he couldn't peel apart what happened that night in terms of helping us understand what normal looks like in his household.
Exactly that. And you'll know as well, there is no such thing as a normal night when you're putting a child that young to bed. The time may vary. Their tiredness or their ability to go to bed may vary. They may be in a good mood. They may be in a bad mood. Children that age are very often ill, or, things like that.
Right.
Their normal doesn't really exist.
Another glass of water. Yeah.
Exactly that. But there's none of that whatsoever. There's nothing at all that would be, he said at the very beginning, what did he say? I'm here to help in any way I can, but there's nothing there that helps with anything. There is no timing. There is no, for example, I know from looking at some of the other words, there are some timings here about the last time that the child was checked on, the last time they could verify the child was there. There's nothing about what else was happening in the house as well, which is, when you've got a child, and it's just you and the child, that child may get that little bit more attention than if there's lots of people in, we've all had, as parents, had loads of guests around and the child's just off in bed and kind of forgotten about it for a while, but you may check in on them, versus if there's no one else in the house and then you're acutely aware of the people in the house, including the child. There's nothing like that there whatsoever to add any detail that could be helpful. So for example, sharing the last time that he knows the child was there would mean that someone who's like, oh, I was in that area, but I was away from that area before 10, so I will know nothing. Or the last time we checked on her was 10 p.m. and someone's like, oh, I was around at midnight and saw, but nothing at all to help his stated aim, which is doing anything he can to help. All he wants to tell us, it was normal. And I'm going to tell you right now, that answer red flags to me. It was not normal. He wants us to believe it was normal, but there was no normality there at all.
Wow. All right. Are you ready for the next segment?
Travis, before you do that, I think there might be something on my end, just throwing this out there. When you play those clips, it like interferes with whatever's happening, because the last 2 times my screen's gone black, it's been after those. So if that happens, I'll just hang out backstage and let you figure out what's going on.
There was a little bit at the end of that as well, when he's asked, what do you think people should know about you and your relationship with your little girl? And again, it's just an answer that packs a hell of a lot into it. He says, I can tell you what I'm not. Now, why are you going to tell us what you're not? You've been asked, tell us what you are. And this is what I'm not. And he doesn't tell us what he's not, because he says, I can tell you what I'm not. I love my daughter. I would never do anything to harm my daughter. She's the world to me. That doesn't tell us what you're not. That tells us what you are. It's just very strange. I mean, I've got from this that he feels like he was under a lot of suspicion at the time he gave this interview. I don't know if that is suspicion from law enforcement or to the public in general, but he wants to get this suspicion off from him from talking about that.
He's more focused on himself than right?
Yeah, and there was heavy suspicion coming from the public, because the way that things were being reported and the searches that were taking place weren't turning up any evidence that would help lead to another step, and he was being evasive. I completely lost the other thing I was going to say. I was responding to something you said, but go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, what he does do here, which is a reassuring factor, is he talks about his daughter in the present tense. I love my daughter. I would never do anything to harm my daughter. She's the world to me. So he does talk about her in the present tense there. As we know, very often people who know that the person that's missing is actually dead will slip into past tense to say them, to talk about them. But he does say, I would never do anything to harm my daughter. That is not, I haven't done anything to harm my daughter. That is future focused. I would never do anything to harm my daughter is not the same as I didn't harm my daughter. They're very different things. And if, as I believe here, he wants to get out from suspicion, the line there to use would be, I did not harm my daughter. That would be what to say. Talk about things in the past rather than this future focused. I would never do anything to harm my daughter. And look, how many times, and we've all done it, have we said, I would never do something and then done it? I will never have another drink on a Thursday night. I will. It's a future-facing phrase, which is no guarantee of anything at all, and it's not the one that I would have wanted to hear from him at that time, which would be, I did not harm my daughter.
I apologize. Somebody actually said the same thing in the comments, and I just went back to look for it, but I couldn't find it. They said the same thing. Like, never doesn't mean he didn't do it.
Yes, exactly. Never is another word like just, where you dig in. If you hear a never, we use never in strict definition. Never is so concrete, not at any time. But, and by the way, I don't want to plug my newsletter, but every month in my newsletter, I collect someone saying the word never and then doing the thing they said they'd never do. It's always there. It sounds so concrete. I would never do anything. When you dig into it, it never is just such a tricky little word.
And I'll actually put that in the comments, your link tree for all your social media. So if you guys want to follow Jack, it's there in the comments. And I'm going to play that next segment now.
If we can ask you specifically, Ayla's mother, Trista, has been on this broadcast twice in the last couple weeks. She specifically questioned your parenting skills. It's even been raised the question of an arm injury that your daughter has. She said that she worried Ayla wasn't safe in your care. Your reaction to that?
As far as I know, there was never any concerns. We had both agreed that me having her at this point in time was the best thing for her.
Trista had been in October in rehab for substance abuse. Can you tell us specifically then about your daughter? Tell us what makes your daughter so special.
She's my daughter. She's my child. She's my world. She's everything to me.
And Mr. DiPietro, Justin, what do you hope happens now? What do you think is going to happen now, and what are you doing to help try to find her at this point?
Just want my daughter home. I'm doing anything possible that I can to get my daughter home. Feels like a helpless situation at some points, but I'm doing what I can, and it's part of the reason I'm coming on here today, in hopes of reaching out to the person that does have her.
Well, our thoughts are certainly with you and your entire family as you try to find your little girl. Justin DiPietro, thanks very much. And by the way, we should note, if you have any information in this case, you're asked to call Maine State Police. That's their phone number up on your screen right now. It is 207-624-7076. Again, Ayla Reynolds now missing for about 2 weeks.
So before you begin, this is I can't stand this guy. I don't like him. But I will say, when he starts talking about her, he does smile. Like, that makes me feel like, okay, maybe whatever happened to her, he knows, but maybe he wasn't necessarily completely at fault other than being a crappy parent, but I don't know. But go ahead, Jack. Tell us.
Yeah, no, I noticed that smile as well. Maybe I could be easily fooled, but it looks like a genuine brightness that appears in his body when he talks about that. Let's look at the words, though. Talking about Ayla's mother, Trista, she specifically questioned your parenting skills. It's even been raised the question of an arm injury that your daughter has. She said that she was worried Ayla wasn't safe in your care. Your reaction to that? And he a little bit and then formed some words. As far as I know, there was never, there's that word again. As far as I know, there was never any concerns. That's qualified. It's as far as I know. So there could well have been concerns. And he's just not wanting to talk about them by saying, as far as I know, we both had agreed me having her at this point in time was the best thing for her. Now, it's just the best thing for her. That sounds like two imperfect options to me. That there was, it wasn't like it was where she should be. It's just the best thing for her. It's the comparative here. What he says, and this worried me here, was me having her at this point in time was the best thing for her. That's ownership. That is like one of those crappy custody battles where what the person doesn't really care about is the child. It's about winning the war, having the child. And that's what he says, me having her at this point. It's not her being with me or me caring for her or anything like that. It's me having her. Doesn't address the arm injury at all. He's asked about an arm injury and he doesn't talk about that at all. And also it was put to him that, his parenting skills have been questioned and he doesn't talk about that either. He doesn't say, no, there's no concerns about my parenting skills, or I'm a great parent, or I don't know why there would be concerns. He just doesn't mention any of that at all. But something that really got me here is the question is put to him in the present tense. Trista questioned your parenting skills. He says, there was never any concerns. A subtle admission that there are now concerns, because he's talking only in the past tense there were no concerns. But now that opens the door to me that there could be concerns. Can you tell us specifically then about your daughter? What makes your daughter so special? Now, I'll give him points for present tense once more. She's my daughter. She's my child. She's my world. She's everything to me. So all in the present tense. But really generic answers, nothing specific about Ayla at all, about the interaction that he had with Ayla, about who Ayla was becoming as a person. It's very, very generic. What makes her special? She's my daughter. Well, you could say that about any daughter, any father could say that about any daughter. She's my child. She's my world. It's just very generic at all. There's nothing specific in there. He's then asked, what happens now? What do you think is going to happen now? And what are you doing to try and help her at this point? I just want my daughter home. I'm doing anything possible that I can to get my daughter home. It feels like a helpless situation at some points, but I'm doing what I can. Again, this is Captain Generic. I'm doing anything possible. What does that mean? You know, is he getting posters out there? Is he out there with search parties? Is he speaking to people? It's just
He didn't do shit.
Yeah, I'm doing anything possible. And that's really qualified, because if you pull him up on that and say, we haven't put posters up, he's saying it wasn't possible. And you know what? That's just where he wants to come at. What does that possible mean there? So, you know, Mr. Generic, once more, he says, I'm part of the reason I'm coming on here today in hopes of reaching out to the person that does have her. We've got that does have her again, rather than that the person that has her. Which, you know, just again, it's that comparative thing of I'll go to my car again. If I lent my car to my friend John, and I would say John has my car. If John lent my car to someone else, I'd say I'm looking for the person that does have my car, because John doesn't have my car. It's very strange wording, and he's used it twice.
So what does that tell you? Like, you say it's strange, but
it's strange. It's so in all of this, you know, I've got some real concerns about what he talks about here, because he's more about image management here, and you know, it's not me, it wasn't me, someone else did this. But there's so many red flags around this normal night. Not really doing anything to help, not really having anything of solidity to say, i.e. I think he's keeping a lot of things hidden there. But what would interest me is this present tense that he uses, and also this person that does have her. For some reason, could just be what he's made himself believe, or it could be what he believes. He has a person in mind. He has, you know, the concept of a person in mind. If you know what I mean, you know, like so. And I'm not saying this is the case here, but if that child had been sold on to, you know, someone else through a third party, you would have the phrase, the person that does have her. You don't know who does have her. I'm not saying that's the case here, but what I'm saying is that he seems to have in his head, for some reason, a concept that someone has this child.
All right. So I'm going to move over to the slides I had sent you. I can't remember. Did any of the comments that he said just now, those aren't in those slides, right? I think I picked different things.
Yeah, no, there's it's very similar themes, but different words.
Yeah, so a lot of these were printed things. So he says, it is important that the public hear it from me personally that I have no idea what happened to Ayla, and that I am not hiding. I have been in full cooperation with everyone in this effort.
It's very rare, I will say this, but this is a lie. Because he has lots of ideas of what happened to Ayla, right? If he was involved in something happening to Ayla, then he has the full idea of what happened. But there is no way the father of a missing child doesn't have ideas about what happened, or suspicions or theories or anything like that. To say I have no idea is frankly a lie. I don't know what happened. Well, I believe that, because that is about knowing for certain and knowing the facts. But he has some ideas. So he's trying to put it on thick here that he has no idea, that I'm not involved, and so on. This one is a lie. Again, it's image management. You know, who comes first? Him, the public, and him. You know, that's what is important here. It's important the public hear from me. It's probably more important that your daughter's found if she's missing. But no, it's important the public hear from me. And then again, here we go with the generic things. I have been in full cooperation with everyone in this effort. You know, what does that mean? And again, look at what he's having to tell us here. I'm not hiding. I've been in full cooperation with everyone in this effort. This is all about, look, these are all the things that are not happening. Here's all the things I've been doing, but they're not very much. This doesn't reassure me in the slightest. That no idea is the, again, parents, has your child ever wandered off in a store?
Yeah.
How many ideas float through your head at that point about what is going
Right.
on? From the
Yeah.
idea of, I'm going to turn this corner and they're going to be there and everything's all right, to, oh my God, they've walked out the front door, they're going to go into the parking lot and, you know, be toddling around, and or someone's going to take them, or you have plenty of ideas in that moment as to what has happened. Now, this is losing your child in a store times 100. And he's saying he has no ideas? Nah, not at all.
It's also interesting. He says, I'm not hiding. But then 4 months after she disappeared, he ran off to California and used a parking garage for his address and everything. So it's funny that he says he's not hiding.
I mean, when people tell you what they're not, very often that's what they are. When someone says, I'm not hiding, you have been hiding.
Yeah.
All right. So I would never do anything to hurt my child. The questions of Ayla's arm or bruises or anything else being said are simply ludicrous. I would never want anyone to spend even a minute in my shoes. No one should ever have to experience this. It has affected me in more ways than anyone can imagine.
Well, we've got that would never again. I would never do anything to hurt my child is not, I haven't hurt my child. And it's the exact same thing with the questions of Ayla's arms or bruises or anything else. The questions are simply ludicrous. But that's not to say that I didn't hurt her arm, injure her arm, or cause any bruises on her. He doesn't actually say these things were not me, or even that there was no injury to her arm or there were no bruises. He just says the questions are ludicrous, but he doesn't get out there and deny the fact that they happened.
It really feels like a gaslighting, so to speak, that there's no concrete response that shuts down any suspicion or questions, just something that a statement that deflects enough to kind of catch the person's or our attention to say, okay, well, that makes us feel like we're being ludicrous. Maybe we are, because he whatever, you know what I mean? Like, he's looking to make whoever's looking at him question what their reality is in what they're seeing.
Yeah.
Your story's not adding up. You are not behaving like a father who's had their child taken from his space, his home. Like, you're giving generic statements about how it's impacted you, yet your behavior is all opposite to that.
Yes. And we've got it again at the end here. It's victim status. I saw a couple of people say in the comments here, I would never want anyone to spend a minute in my shoes. No one should ever have to experience this. It's affected me in more ways than you can imagine. Mm-hmm. Who's the victim here? He's talking about if he's the victim. Now, we've been sitting talking for 40 minutes about this. So I'm not saying I've heard everything this guy has to say ever, but I have not heard him express care or concern for his child once here. No concern about what she's going through, what she's experiencing, no concern for her safety or anything like that whatsoever. But I have heard him express plenty of concern for himself, and no one should be in his shoes. What about your daughter, pal?
It's a lot like the last case you covered with us, right? In that regard.
Yeah.
Well, and also too,
Right.
if he's guilty of something or he knows more than he's saying he knows, is he internalizing that carrying that guilt is some sort of victimhood that he needs to be validated by us, that he's going through? So, that's interesting. That where my head goes is that are you actually twisting this to be like something you've caused yourself to feel or experience from society because of your actions has now made you the victim because we're holding you accountable by asking?
Yeah, because he doesn't. Could we go back a slide? Is that possible? Because you'll notice he doesn't what I call finish off the circle, which is I would never want anyone to spend a minute in my shoes. No one should have to experience this. So it's a minute in my shoes. It's experience this. Like you say, Danielle, he doesn't tell us what being in his shoes is like. He doesn't have to say what this is. It has affected me in more ways than anyone can imagine. There's nothing else there. So he leaves it all dangling. And if you're just listening to him talking, you might be saying, oh God, yeah, I wouldn't want to spend my minute in the shoes of someone whose child's been abducted. I wouldn't want to experience that. And God, that would affect me so much. But he doesn't say that's what affected him. He doesn't finish off that circle. He just leaves it dangling there, and not actually, saying, God, this has been an absolute nightmare for me. I'm permanently worried about my child. That's a horrible
Constantly wondering
situation to be
where
in.
she is or what's happening to her. Is she eating? Does she have? She's without her favorite stuffy, like things like that. He should be saying that is causing him to suffer in thinking or wondering about that, and it just feels, like lip service around how much he's bothered.
So I would believe he's telling the truth there. No one would want to spend a minute in his shoes. No one should have to experience this. But what is behind that truth? What is it that he's actually talking about? It's very easy to speak the truth. The truth's the easiest thing to speak. It's lying. Yeah. It's not worth it. But we can hold a lot back as well. And here he hasn't finished off the circle of what is this really would be my question there.
All right. I just want my daughter home. I'm doing anything possible that I can get my daughter home. I'm sorry. Anything possible that I can to get my daughter home. That was kind of weird saying. It feels like a hopeless situation at some points, but I'm doing what I can. And I can read. I don't know why I'm.
Well, so you've just suffered from something I suffer from, which is when I do my podcast and video episodes, I read the words out. And there's times I think people think, can this guy not read? And do you know when those are? It's when someone's being deceptive, because it's really hard to read. I'm doing anything possible.
It doesn't make sense
to get my so I could sit there and read things when someone's being honest and truthful or telling us about a situation they've experienced, and I can narrate away quite happily. And then I come across something and I'm like, oh my God, do people think I'm really stupid? And actually, it's the form of words that the person's used is very hard to read. I'm doing anything possible that I can to get my daughter home. Again, there's just no meaning here whatsoever. There's no substance behind what he's saying. It feels like a helpless situation at some points, but I'm doing what I can. And again, it's all just big thoughts. There's nothing little in there. Image management. I'm doing anything possible. I'm doing what I can.
It's manufactured.
What is that?
A manufactured response. And it reminds me of how politicians answer questions when they're put on the spot during election season. They give you this roundabout word salad. I hate to say that, but roundabout answer that feels like an answer until you reflect and go back and say, where was the answer in that?
Yeah.
Especially since I remember back then, as a bystander, we were, watching the news and following the situation. He wasn't involved. And so everything he's saying, again, he's not backing up with action and wants people to believe what he's saying.
Yeah, he's not even backing it up with words. I'm sitting here, like I said to you, I knew nothing about this case. I probably learned more about it in the past 3/4 of an hour than I have there. But I learned nothing at all from what he said about what he did. It's just not there in his words. It's kind of vacuous.
Mm. Oh.
Travis, you might be on mute.
I was muted.
Yeah.
Okay,
Danielle must have.
wondering if maybe my sound went off.
So Tim says, I'm not updated on this case. Is there a link to it? And Tim works with me. And I'm surprised. I think, Tim, you've been here for quite a while, right? It's like the biggest case in the state of Maine. But I'll share that with you, Tim. And I'm going to go to the next statement here. So he says this during the interview on TV as well as in the newspaper too. He says, you may think what you're doing is right for Ayla, but it's not. You have no right. You're not her parent. She belongs home with her family.
Who would you say that to? Who would you say that to? Let's just accept the story and that you went to bed, your child was in bed, and you woke up in the morning and the child was gone. Who could have taken that child? And for some reason, and I don't want to be too graphic here, but there's a lot of nefarious reasons someone could take a young girl child from her bed at that time. But for some reason, he doesn't go to someone doing nefarious things. Is someone doing something that you may think what you're doing is right, but it's not. You have no right. Well, that strikes me as someone who thinks what they're doing is the best for Ayla. Now, again, I'm not saying this is what happened, but it's as if he thinks that someone who cared for Ayla has taken Ayla and taken her out of a situation that she shouldn't have been in to put her in a better situation. Although he disagrees with it, you may think what you're doing is right for Ayla, but it's not. You have no right. He's really focused on rights. You know, he did it in that interview that we watched as well, about doing right, and you have no rights. And I don't. They're two different kind of rights, but it's the same word. It's the same word that he uses a lot. But it's interesting that, you know, his mind, and, you know, again, I have no idea what happened, and I said that's a lie. Well, here we go. His idea seems to be that someone is doing something they think is right for Ayla. So you do have ideas, you know, you do have this idea. I've never seen this before in missing children cases where someone doesn't think, you know, again, I said there is no care or concern expressed for Ayla. Actually, what is expressed there is almost like not lack of care or concern, but like an alleviation of care and concern. This person thinks they're doing what's right, you know, which is therefore this person's going to do the right thing by Ayla, or what they think is the right thing by Ayla. It's a very interesting concept that he's got going on in his head there.
Well, and it's also just not very convincing. You know, again, I know you listen to the words themselves and how they're used, and not tone and inflection and stuff, but you would think that that would be an emotionally charged statement if you are calling someone out, whether you know who took her or not, or suspect that they've now made a stance about your parenting and what they know better for your child. Most parents would get pretty defensive about that. And to me, it just further demonstrates a disconnect almost, that even if he weren't responsible, I'm really not convinced he would be bothered if his child was hurt or taken anyway.
There is no concern expressed at all.
It's so flat.
Which is, you can take two ways. Number one is that he knows she's not alive anymore, so that you cannot have concern. The worst possible thing has already happened, therefore you wouldn't have concern. Or Mary Poppins has swung in, taken this child, and the child is going to have the best life ever. Do you know, a much better life than I could provide. Therefore, I have no concern about that child at all. You know, his lack of concern is really, really staring me in the face there. But matched with this, someone doing something they have no right to do, but they think is the right thing to do. Strange wording from the guy on that one.
Too, for a short while, he was deflecting back to Trista. And so that kind of made me wonder when he said, you may think what you're doing is right, as if he were trying to perpetuate the narrative that she was somehow involved and not trying to. So I almost like got a sense too, or asking myself, are you talking to Trista sort of cryptically
through the media
without calling her out? Yes, the way, you know, although I would imagine he was advised by legal counsel not to be reactive to what she said about him, but co-parenting and active substance use are pretty tumultuous subjects to put together, so I can't imagine that they don't have have a reactive relationship as former partners. So
that's
his response is flat to that too, but it seems, again, coached.
The other thing he could be doing is talking to himself. What you're doing isn't right. You have no right to do this. That is another possibility that is there. And, you know, again, I don't want to come out there and accuse someone directly of doing something when I know very little of the facts.
Jack, the rest of the state has already accused him. So
that's fine. The easiest way to talk is to tell the truth. And if you can summon up the true form of words that, you know, if he did do something to his daughter, he does have no right to do it, and it wasn't right what happened, then talking in those truthful terms, but not attaching himself to it, gives him an easy form of words to use, a realistic form of words to use. I'm not saying he went through that process consciously inside his head. It's just if he, could summon up, and if this is what happens, if he could sum up the anger that he feels towards himself or the regret that he feels towards himself, but verbalize it towards someone else, then he is going to have a realistic, authentic experience with which to verbalize things with, which is maybe why, I'm going, look, this guy, there's so many red flags that it was a normal night and so on. Really, really make me think, something happened to her that night and he knows fine well what it is. But this, you have no right, also strikes me as authentic. And therefore, an explanation for why those two things could hold true is if he did do something, if he was involved in something bad happening to Ayla, but then when he's talking about having no right, what's gone on isn't right, she should be at home, is all actually true. He's just taking what he feels about what he knows has happened and putting that externally, but using the words and experience outwards as he does it.
Yeah, psychological coping mechanism to kind of further distance and cope with the especially if he's feeling the trauma of knowing he did something, or she died or got hurt as a result of his neglect.
I can't, and this is a great life lesson. I was furious at some point this week. I can't remember why it was, and that's my life lesson. I was really furious at some point of like 2 or 3 days ago, and now I can't remember why. But I was furious. I was spitting feathers. I was going to phone someone up and give them what for. And I then realized my anger was really towards myself. And I think we've all known that time where we lash out at someone else when really we're hacked off at ourselves. And that is very much what this could be. The anger or the words that are there is inward, but I'm lashing out and using it externally.
Yeah,
that's actually really interesting. So this next slide, I'll say that because you don't know much about the case, Ayla was living with Justin, her father, but also her grandmother at her grandmother's house, and that's the house she disappeared from. There's blood found in the basement, upstairs, blood found in his vehicle, found on his shoes, everything else. So here's the next slide. So this is the grandmother. She says, I feel violated. Somebody came into my home and took my granddaughter who was sleeping.
The bit that gets me, well, let's just go through what we were talking about, actually. I feel violated. I believe that is straightforward. It's not persuasive. There's nothing in there that doesn't need to be in there. I feel violated, although by what? Somebody came into my home and took my granddaughter who was sleeping. Now, why is who was sleeping added at the end there? Somebody came into my home and took my granddaughter. Is violation enough? There's a lot of violation in there. Someone coming into your home, violation. Someone taking your granddaughter, violation. Who was sleeping is extra. It doesn't make it mean anything else, but it seems to be important for her to say she was sleeping. Does this woman know whatever happened? The granddaughter wasn't sleeping, but it's part of the story that has to be told was that the Ayla was sleeping at the time she was taken. But that who was sleeping added in at the end there, why is that added in?
Yeah, it's extra information.
Yeah,
not needed.
Yeah.
Now, is there ever any time where like you would, how do I say this? Like think of a person adding that detail to kind of make a point about how further vulnerable she is if she's not even able to be alert and awake. I mean, I'm not playing devil's advocate or anything, but I am curious throughout this conversation if people's individual communication styles or abilities are ever needing to be taken into consideration, that they might not have the vocabulary or syntax and stuff like that they need to make sense and communicate clearly.
Completely. You might have noticed what I said was, why did she add that extra? I didn't say she added that extra because she's lying and she knows and she's a killer and she's complicit and so on. I didn't jump to that thing. But I think what I will do is I'll pull things out and go, why is that said like that? And we've got a couple of slides here from grandmother, so I'm not going to draw any conclusions on her whatsoever. But if she's spoken a hell of a lot more, if we had an hour-long police interview with her to look at or something like that, I'd be looking for what are these extra things, because for me, this is, it could be exactly what you said. It could be, I feel so violated. It was a sleeping young girl that was taken, and that does make her more vulnerable. But I'm thinking, is she in storytelling mode, which is where the extra details come in, the things that are not needed to be said but make the story more concrete? Or again, when you are telling a story that's fabricated, you've got the set points in your story, the beats that you have to hit when you tell them, and so they come in strange places. So I'm going, is she in storytelling mode? But it is a question. But if I looked at maybe an hour interview with her, I would be able to go, you know what, she is in storytelling mode, or she is someone who feels utterly violated by what happened inside her house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, so I'm sure that eventually they will be able to let us know how someone got into the house, whether it was an unlocked window, an unlocked door, I don't know. If I knew, it wouldn't have happened.
This was, what does this mean to me? Why is this important? Because I guess I get this is a small sentence out of maybe something that was a lot more that was said. But the big mystery for her is not where is her granddaughter. She's holding up a bloody missing poster in the picture, but the big mystery for her in the words there is, how did someone get into the house? It's not that important in the grand scheme of things. It's let's find out where she is. Let's find out who came into your house. That doesn't seem to be a mystery to her inside that that sentence that she's using there. Also, the line "if I knew" can be taken different ways. If I knew, it wouldn't have happened. Does that mean like I could have stopped this from happening? I would have had some power to stop this from happening, which again, you could take different ways. It could be, if I know they came through an unlocked door, I would have locked the door. But it could be, if I knew what my son was going to do, or I knew what one of his friends or associates was going to do, or whatever it is, I could have stopped it from happening.
Well, and it also seems like she's still trying to defend the way in which she kept her house safe for a child that age. My first response to that was, isn't that something that should be a routine anyway? If there's a child in the house, like you go and you shut down, I mean, maybe not every window, but definitely obvious spaces where you think in a neighborhood where houses are so close and, you're within proximity to other dangerous neighborhoods, that you would check those things, I guess. And it's interesting to me, I guess.
Well, I mean, once again, like mother, like son, no concern expressed for the child. Also, no. I talked about losing a child in a store before, and those are those moments where maybe you were holding their hands, but you went to pick something up and they've run off, or you were more interested in finding the right size of jeans than you were at that moment in time, and making sure that your child was like sticking right next beside you and wasn't distracted by something or somewhere. And at that point, I'd be like, oh my God, I had a lapse of concentration for just 1 minute, and bad things happened. I got the fright of my life. There's nothing there that's like, didn't lock the doors, or
the accountability.
I regret that.
I should have gone through and looked to make sure all the doors were locked, and now I don't know if they were, and I'll always wonder now. And yeah.
So I do want to get to Jody's statement. She says, was Justin's mom even at the house that night? I thought that she wasn't there. So initially she had told police that she was there, and then she recanted and said, oh, no, she wasn't home that night. She was somewhere else in Vassalboro. Let's see. So are you ready for the next slide?
Yeah.
Oops, that's the same one. All right, so here it is. Justin is a great dad. He truly, truly is. And I know he loves Ayla. I'd give everything I owned if we can have her back.
Persuasive. He truly, truly is laying it on thick. She feels a need to persuade that Justin's a great dad. And I'm always going to now go back to Danielle's point. I'm asking a question here of why she feels the need to persuade, why she doesn't feel that saying Justin's a great dad will not stand on its own and just be a statement of truth, that she needs to go to this. He truly, truly is. Little bit of distance there with, I know he loves Ayla. not he loves Ayla, like it's a given. It's I know he loves Ayla, and that is something that we see. When we see someone treat someone badly, we'll say, I know he loves her, but he's got a weird way of showing it. Or, he does love her. I know he loves her, but right now he's very selfish. Or I know he loves her deep down. And, like there's things like that I know he loves her. And so that is very reminiscent of that. And I give everything I owned if we can have her back. It's just, that's a cliche, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's like, there's nothing in all of this, there's nothing dug up deep that really has feeling or emotion or empathy in it at all. And probably says something about her view of the world, about material possessions or something like that. I'd give everything I owned if we can have her back. But also, why the swap? Why the need for the swap? Why not just, I really want her back.
Yeah.
So we're about an hour into it, Jack. I'm not sure it's like 1 a.m. over there.
It's 1 a.m. Yeah.
Okay.
It's just like the old days. I just come back clubbing.
You're pissing the night away, right?
Yeah. This is just like old times.
So do you have time to go over the 911 call?
I'd love to if you guys do, because I think this is very, very telling.
Yeah, it's only 8 here, so I can stay up for at least another half hour.
Or so he says.
All right, so this is the 911 call. So JD is obviously Justin DiPietro. He calls in 911. I woke up this morning. My daughter is not here. 911 says, okay, how old is she? She is an infant. She's only 20 years old. And this whole 20 years old thing goes back and forth a few times. I didn't put them all in here, but the 911 operator didn't understand what he was trying to say. There goes Danielle. 911 says, was there anybody else with you overnight? Justin says, my sister's here, her daughter, and my girlfriend and her son are here.
Right.
So is there anything you want to stop at on this first slide?
The very first thing he says is not the most crucial thing in the world. My daughter's missing. It's I woke up this morning. That is his priority. And for me, so 911 calls are the first chance to tell a story if you are a guilty person. They are something that if you have done something to your daughter, you're not going to phone 911 and talk off the top of your head. You're going to tell the story that you've decided to tell. And so in a 911 call, I was doing some work today on a 911 call from someone who was reporting a 9-person massacre. And the first thing they say is, please come immediately. Please come immediately. There's a guy, he's shooting everyone, right? Immediate plea for help. And very quick description of how serious the problem is. There's a guy shooting everyone. Hey, I woke up this morning. My daughter's not here. So this to me says he's storytelling. Also, it doesn't flow. It's not, I woke up this morning, went to see my daughter and she's not there or here. It's, I woke up this morning, my daughter's not here. It doesn't say that, I woke up this morning and found my daughter wasn't there. The only way that would make any sense was if daughter was sleeping in the same room or same bed as him at all. That would make sense. But it's not, I woke up this morning and my daughter's gone. It should be, my daughter's gone, help. And then a little bit more storytelling later when you're asked a question like, when did she go missing? I don't know. I woke up, I went into the room, she wasn't there. This just reeks of storytelling.
And like, I understand if it's like an 18-year-old kid that maybe you're unsure if you should be calling the cops and reporting her missing or not, right? But she's, again, 22 months old or 20 months old.
Yeah. That whole misspeak is interesting. I don't know. There was talk of substance abuse with the mom. Is there any indications of substance abuse or alcohol problems with him? Because it read to me like someone, the sort of thing I would say at 1 o'clock in the morning once upon a time would be 20 months, years old. Well, I can't get my words out properly. What misspeaks come, look, we all misspeak. I've probably misspoke a few times in the past hour, but misspeaks come when we have some words or thoughts floating around in our mind, and some of them slip out, into the chain that is spoken, and it could be that just for this guy, 20 months is one of those weird ages where you're about to stop counting in months and start counting in years. And is that why the months, years thing has come out? Like, what's the best answer to this question? Is it she's nearly 2 years, or she's 1.5 years, or 20 months? That could be why that has happened there. Is anybody else with you overnight? This got me interesting. My sister's here, her daughter, and my girlfriend and her son are here. And when we list things, we quite often list in the order of priority and significance to us. My sister's here, her daughter, my girlfriend and her son are here. I don't know why that order is like that, but it interests me that sister came before girlfriend. Sister might come very close to you when you're younger, but when you're a little bit more grown up, your girlfriend and her son, or your girlfriend might be higher up your priority chain.
So there's evidence that he drove to Portland, where his girlfriend lives, that morning around 5 in the morning. So what if he had gone down there, picked her up, and then brought her back? So then he's stating it in this order.
Well, there's two orders that we use when we're talking. Number one is significance order. Number two is chronological order. Like, again, I seem to be talking to parents a lot tonight, but try naming your children not in birth order. Try just, we have ways of what are your kids' names? You go oldest, youngest, next youngest.
Right. It's harder. Yeah. In my head.
And, if you ask me what I did yesterday, I'll probably give you some time order thing in there as well. What did I do before I came on here? I'll probably work backwards in time. There's a little bit of chronological order. So that could be that. Also, was anybody else with you overnight? I'm interested that he mentions the children there. It's a very full answer. My sister's here, my girlfriend's here, their kids are here, something like that. But it's my sister's here, her daughter, my girlfriend, and her son. It's just very kind of unexpected way of answering that question. It feels, again, it's full of detail. Is it like really important detail as part of this story to get across?
All right, so 911, hang on, I'm putting you through. This is in Waterville. He says, yes, sir. Then he's transferred to Waterville Communications. That's what's going on. He begins to say he put his daughter to, but then the phone disconnects. So the phone disconnects about 4 times during this call, by the way. 911, where's the emergency? Justin says, yeah, I'd called. My phone just died and I have another cell phone now. So Waterville Communications says, hi, how long ago did you see your child? Are you okay with me skipping to the next slide?
Yeah, I just think, again, it's this kind of storytelling again, like, where's the urgency? Hi, I just called, my daughter's missing. Not I just called, my phone just died, but I got another cell phone now. There's, again, lack of urgency, lack of care here for the missing child. It's more important for him to say why his, my phone just died, but I got another cell phone now. So not important in this whole thing.
What were you going to say, Danielle?
Oh, sorry. I was just saying it's like he's trying to prove he's not being suspicious or explain why the phone disconnected versus just staying focused on his daughter.
Yeah.
So then Justin goes on to say, when I put her to bed last night, my sister had checked on her. Woke up this morning, went to her room, and she's not there. Waterville Communications says, all right, so you saw her last sometime in the evening? Justin says, yeah, I put her to bed, something inaudible, at 8. Waterville Communications says, all right, what was she wearing the last time you saw her? Justin says, she had some pajamas on. They were green pajamas, and they say green pajamas.
Yeah. When I put her to bed last night, was that the answer to the question of when did you last see her? Yeah, it was. That's not a time. So the question was, what time was she last seen? And he doesn't answer with a time. He answers with an action. When I put her to bed last night. Again, is this a constructed story? And that he knows, when people construct stories in their head, it's very much like film script directions of action and movement and what was said and so on. And so he doesn't answer with a time. It's just that when I put her to bed last night, my sister had checked on her, woke up this morning, went to her room, and she's not there. He drops his pronouns there. You notice he says, I put her to bed last night. My sister had checked on her, but he doesn't have anyone in. Woke up this morning, went to her room, and she's not there, which he certainly dropped himself from the story at that point. Very often, deceptive stories, when again, we're making them up, we start to drop the pronouns. We don't put ourselves in and say, I woke up this morning and I went to her room and she's not there. He's dropped himself out there.
That's interesting.
I'm also interested and slightly worried about the pajamas. The pajamas are in past tense. What was she wearing the last time you saw her? He doesn't say green pajamas or pajamas. She had some pajamas on. So has that changed because she had them on? Did she no longer have them on at some point? They were green pajamas. Are they no longer green? Or are they no longer pajamas? Has something happened to them? But that is really interesting. Double use of that past tense to what was she wearing? She had some pajamas on. They were green pajamas. That worries me a little bit, that past tense that he uses there.
And it's weird. The pajamas supposedly said daddy's princess too, almost to show like how much she loved her daddy, right? Like that's the narrative they want to send out to the world.
Wow.
So Justin says, yeah, about the green pajamas. Waterville Communications says, okay, can you remember the exact time you saw her last or somebody saw her last in her crib? Justin then says, Alicia, when is the last time you went in her room last night when you saw her? His sister Alicia says 10 o'clock. Justin says 10. Communications says 10. Okay. Waterville Communications then says, okay, and you've checked all through the house. Is there any way she could have climbed out of her crib? Justin says, no, ma'am. There's no way she could.
What have I got in this bit then? The question that he asks Alicia, not when was the last time you went in her room, when is the last time you went in her room? Very subtle distinction there from talking about last night in the past tense. He's talking about it in the present tense. When is the last time could be, again, according to this script, according to this story, when is the last time you went into the room? Rather than when was the last time that you saw her? Very subtle use there of the present tense. When we make up stories, we very often slip into the present tense because we're making them up in the present time in our head rather than going backwards into that experience there. Also, when is the last time you were in her room last night? Suggests to me there were other times or the potential that there were other times. It's not when did you last see her? It's when the last time you went into the room last night. So that suggests to me lots of movement in that room, and you'll notice that across the grandmother did this, and there's a lot of focus here in the call as well around the bed and the bedroom. That room seems to be really significant in whatever happened. Lots of focus on Ayla's bedroom.
And somebody just posted something that Janera says, was it a crib or a bed? So that's interesting because Alicia's daughter shared the room with Ayla. And from what I understand, she was in the crib and Ayla was in the bed. But in this, he's saying last seen in her crib. So I don't know if that means anything or not.
To be fair, it's the caller. It's the communications people that bring the word crib into it, isn't it? It's
Yes,
not.
I noticed that too.
it's not
And they're not
just-
supposed to introduce language, right?
Yes, and so it's a very natural thing for us to do is to take on the concepts that are put to us in questions, even if they're not quite right, or repeat words back that are put to us in questions, even again if they're not quite right, because someone else has introduced that language into the conversation.
And Justin does say, when was the last time you went in her room last night when you saw her? So he doesn't say the crib. So
Yeah.
anyways. Okay, the officer is there with you right now. I want you to go out and speak with her, okay? Okay, all right, bye. So I should say, once the police department got there, Justin locked himself into the bathroom, would not come out for about half hour to 45 minutes before he finally came out of the bathroom. Though I would really like you to actually look into this case because there's so much to it, and the blood evidence is so obvious that something happened there in the home. State police have said.
Was there blood evidence in the bedroom?
So she had a doll that they believed she wiped her face off with. She had blood on her face and rubbed the doll's hair across her face.
Oh.
And that was, I believe, in her bedroom. There was a spot of blood on the couch, blood in the basement, blood, like I said, on his shoes, blood on a car seat in his car. It's just so much blood.
There's just in that 911 call, which is like it's the 911 call is going to be the rawest you're going to hear things. There's such a focus on her room that I can't help thinking that whatever went on, the bedroom was a real area of focus for what happened. It's it's the only room in the house that's mentioned. Again, there's just in that 911 call, there's little care or concern for his daughter. It's all about getting his facts and stories out. I was talking about that massacre 911 call that I listened to, and all the woman talks about is the please hurry, people are being shot. There's a real sense of immediacy with her. She's not doing any storytelling at all in this. She's not doing any scene setting beyond, please get here now. It's, it's really, really bad. And what we've got going on there is just all this scene setting, storytelling, almost like, that script of, yes, and then I woke up and then I walked over to the bedroom and, she's not there. That really, really concerns me, that 911 call.
Yeah, such a sad story, and I meant to show her picture again. Let me pull those slides back up. So Ayla Reynolds went missing December 17th, 2011. Last seen December 16th, allegedly. So if you do have any information about this case, you can contact, let's see, put that up. Waterville, Maine Police Department at 207-872-5551. Again, she's just a beautiful little girl. Before we started, I told you, Jack, that she's the whole reason why I started this podcast. So I've got a super soft spot for her, and she means a lot to me. So I appreciate you coming on and talking about the case. In your professional opinion, you believe that the two adults that we covered tonight are being deceitful in their language?
Yes, they are. Yeah, they're hiding something. They're, especially Justin, his priority is managing his own image, and he is storytelling. That 911 call, that first thing he says in the 911 call is the one of the biggest red flags there for me. I just woke up. I don't think you did, mate. I really don't think you did. I think you've been awake for a long time. And you've been doing a lot while you have been awake throughout the night.
Yeah, so his phone had pinged all the way down to Portland and back around like 4:35 in the morning.
Yeah,
the call comes in at like 8:45 to the communications center. So it's very interesting.
And I'm guessing that there is not enough evidence to charge him, or has he been charged? And Not.
No,
He's never been charged. The problem is there's 3 adults who were in the home, allegedly him, his sister, and his girlfriend. So I think that they don't have enough evidence to prove who did what, and they've never found her. So unfortunately, he's kind of gotten away with it at this point.
That's that makes it sound like 3 people are complicit. At least 3 people are complicit in all of this. And just on his wording on the you have no right to do this and so on. Was his sister involved in some way? Do you know that? Did his sister try and do what she thought was the right thing by Ayla, or something like that? Is that where this, you have no right, and the person that does have her, or whatever it is, does that come from there?
Yeah. So I'll say that the sister was interviewed and asked where all the blood came from, and she said that Ayla was lactose intolerant, that she vomited a lot, and that's why that was all there. So that sounds reasonable.
Wow. But yeah, if there's, I do not buy the story. I just don't buy the story. And the guy just does not come across as father of the year, does he?
No.
And I know you.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I really feel that something else, that was illegal was happening too, and it could be a motivating factor for omitting what happened to her, because it would pull in other things related to drug use and activity. And I've always wondered, if he was in a position, which doesn't make hiding it right, but that he had to choose one evil over another, as far as, are we going to know the truth about his daughter, what happened and everything else, and he's going to have to deal with some, shady people, or is he going to take on the brunt and get a reputation of not being a good father?
Yeah. There's a term in statement analysis called concern for self, which is that in a lot of what that person says, their concern is themselves, and not other people. And that tends to be language used by addicts to any substance or, any other sort of addiction. They will always display in their language a strong concern for self. And that's what, I'm seeing there. We've talked about it all the way we've gone through here, is that his concern is not his missing daughter. His concern is always himself. So, if he was a drug addict, or another kind of addict, it wouldn't surprise me from the language that he's using, that he's very focused in on himself and getting himself what he needs, which is what addicts do.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes.
So awesome job, Jack. Again, let me post your links again into the comment section. So if you want to follow Jack Fox on social media, I just posted the link there in the comments. Jack, thank you. Appreciate you coming on again.
No, you're welcome. I love some fascinating sets of words to look at like this one, and hopefully we've brought some questions or clarity to what could have been going on that night with poor Ayla.
Yeah. All right, Jack. You have a good night. Try to get some sleep. I know it's late for you. Hopefully you don't have any meetings or anything tomorrow morning.
I've got to be up in... what time is it? 3.5 hours. I've got to be up.
No. Yeah. Oh, my gosh. Well, thank you for what you're doing for Ayla.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good night.
Cheers.
And thank you, everyone, for watching. Have a good night.
Search for 5-year-old Taylor Williams led investigators to Alabama this week.
So we have some breaking news from Florida. An arrest has been made in connection.
After years of agony, a glimmer of hope for the family.
Investigators spent hours searching through this house off Pennsylvania Avenue.
What could be a major development in the search for missing Alabama teenager.
Tonight, a stunning twist in the search for Taylor.
Somebody out there knows something.
They want to lay him to rest their way, not by somebody else's way.